Well, when I came back from, okay, so I'm impulsive.
Mhm.
I came back from London. I hadn't been home in 2 years, and I came back and went to see a friend of mine that was living in Westport, Connecticut, and I'd never been to Connecticut before, and I loved it, so I just moved there and left London, left all my stuff there, just moved. I wanted to
Wow.
be an artist, and I was also doing etching and printmaking at the time, and so I got involved with some people and had a show in printmaking. Westport had I'm trying to think, did Westport have the studio? I anyway, worked as a waitress and painted and actually learned how little I really learned in art school, and that became my searching. Um, Gosh,
Oh,
from there, I went back to Atlanta, which is where I was from. Um, Met someone, got married, moved to California. That's where I got into printmaking. There's an printing atelier in La Jolla
oh,
that
cool.
Francois Gillot was at. And so I did printmaking there, had a show. Crazy as it sounds, I didn't have a gallery. I really didn't know what I was doing. I was trying to paint, but I really didn't know. I need a lot of years under my belt. I ended up selling real estate for a while and having a family. And then I got to a point where I could not paint anymore. And I was painting in my kitchen at night. I eventually got a studio there, and that's when I really got into pastel. And from there, it just took off because at the time, pastel became my medium. I quit real estate. I ended up being a mother of four, but I painted all along. And I realized that my eyes are painting even when I'm not. And the years that I wasn't able to actively have a studio, I realized I was still translating with my eyes. So I notice that, when I'm driving, I will be looking all around me and I'll be looking at, we'll use Connecticut because I'm here right now, but there's a lot of green or there's a lot of snow or whatever. But I find myself noticing the difference in the trees a mile up the road to three-quarters of a mile to next to me to the grass and seeing the difference in the values and the colors and the shapes. And I think we start to look at everything like a puzzle. The pieces come together in shapes and colors and values. So I realize that I look at things, I can't say I look at everything in a painting, but in a way it translates into my mind. I lived in Colorado for a while and became very conscious of the blue skies on the snow and how, blue the snow was here because of the color of the sky and the reflections. And I think once you get started, and I don't, it's not about if you, oh, and mixing colors. I love to mix colors. And even my first year in college, we had to mix colors. And we had these little color squares. I don't remember what they're called, but they're still out there. But we had to make them, out of our palette. Um, and I love it. I feel like there isn't a color I can't mix, except there's a certain pink dahlia that's impossible to mix.
Mhm.
But my eyes just, they take things apart. And I think that started to happen before I ever even really learned to paint from that color exercise. I went to University of Georgia for a year, and that was one of the exercises, and that taught me to break down color. So I know I'm really segueing off all this, but
You're good.
anyway, I just am passionate about. I never wanted to be anything else. When I was in high school, I chose between writing, music, and art, and the art won out because I used to love to write, and I played piano and classical guitar, and then at one point I wanted to be a rock star. That didn't happen. So anyway, the art won out. It never left me. It never left
Yeah.
me.
Wow.
I just got to a point where after I started pastel again, I got to a point where I felt like I could start to make it my life, and I did. And that's got to be, I don't know, 25 years ago, 30 years ago.